Welcome to the podcast of CreateConnectConvert.co, a community of empowered businesswomen by empowered businesswomen. Let's dig in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the CreateConnectConvert.co podcast. We are a community for empowered women by empowered women. In today's episode, we're going to talk all about well-designed systems and workflows and how they are an essential part of any business owner's life so that they help you stay focused, productive, and grounded. So we're talking all things streamlining and automation today. So before we dive in, I would love to have my amazing co-hosts introduce themselves. Regina, let's kick things off with you, please.
Thank you, Kristy. My name is Regina Garay. I am a digital marketing manager and educator for the design and construction fields. So I either help you manage your marketing or help you manage it yourself, teach you how to manage it yourself. I am going to share the baton with Laura.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Regina. I'm Laura Templeton with 30 Second Success, a brain communication specialist helping brilliantly legacy-driven, impact creating business owners and professionals to attract the clients that they want to work with. If you know someone who is struggling to communicate more effectively, like I am right now, because my tongue is all twisted, that's
I
a
was
great
thinking
introduction,
Libra
right?
was good
Like,
too.
yeah, right? I'm like, okay. We're just going to run with it today. But sometimes it happens, right? We get all twisted up in the words that we want to share, but that's where I come in. I help people really define the words that communicate effectively with the audience that they desire to serve. So that's who I am. I'm Laura Templeton, and I'm going to kick it over to Carolyn.
Hey, I'm Carolyn Choate of financiallyfreeauthor.com and Website Traffic School. And I love to teach and help others to see tech and marketing the way I do. I see marketing as a gift to your audience, and it fills me with so much joy. So I want to share that around with everybody in whatever way I can through books, YouTube, things like that.
Fantastic. Thank you, ladies. And I'm Kristy Crippen. I'm a virtual administrator, and I'm the founder of Collaborative Partners Administrative Services. I founded my company because I saw a real need in the market for small business owners and entrepreneurs who needed that unique style of help on their terms. And they need help with collaboration, with brainstorming, problem solving, productivity, time management, scheduling, habits and accountability, all of these key areas that are part and parcel of who we are as business owners. And I'm here to support and uplift and help you turn those feelings of overwhelm into feelings of overjoy. So let's dive into today, automation processes. There's so many facets of business owners every day that are important. And one of the things that is so valuable is when we can evaluate where we need to automate our business, because the more that we can automate our business, the more streamlined our lives become. And that allows us to be even more focused. It increases our productivity. It helps us to feel more grounded, and we have that greater clarity that we need. So what I would like to kick off with, and I'll go around and ask each one of you, when we think about well-designed systems and how they reduce stress while increasing productivity, let's talk about what are the biggest ways that those well-designed systems reduce stress. So Regina, why don't you kick us off? I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
The way that they reduce stress is that they take out those tiny little actions that are like 1 minute, 2 minute actions, but they completely stop your flow of focus. So you're just like, okay, got to do this, and got. So what I like is that they let me have a single task mindset as I go through my day. That's how they
reduce. Because when we can automate our daily activities,
Mhm.
it helps pave the way for long-term success. So, Laura, let's have you answer the same question. Um, for you, what are the biggest ways that well-designed systems help reduce your stress while also increasing your productivity?
I think the biggest thing, and Kristy, you and I have had deep conversations around this. I think, a lot of times the well-designed systems are really about identifying those key things that you do repeatedly, right? You do them automatically, it becomes something that's repeatable. And yet, like, okay, number one, the efficiency of being able to do it on repeat, right, is so important, right? And it helps us to refine that process and do it quicker. But at some point in time, when we want to expand our businesses and we want to scale, what's the easiest thing to offload? Well, something that has been automated, something that is a repeatable process that you can then hand over to someone else to do for you. So I think that's, especially in the role that you play, a lot of times you have clients that come to you and they have systems and processes in place that work well for them, but now they need to find more time in their day. That's an easy thing for you then to take over for them if it's already set up as a process. And that's what I found was really efficient for me when I hired a VA, when I hired you to help me with some of the work that you have helped me with in the past. And I think that's the biggest thing. That's that efficiency that having those automations and having processes in place really brings to the table when you're expanding your business.
I love that. You brought up so many great points too. And yes, business owners, they have those processes in place, but then they also can see, oh, these are some other areas where I need to create those processes. And how do I go about doing that? So, Carolyn, let's bring you into the conversation. On your own business journey, what are some of the biggest ways that those well-designed processes have helped you to increase productivity within the work that you do in your business?
Well, I did want to address the first question a little bit of the ways that it reduces stress. I think that there's a huge mental toll on remembering and keeping it in your head and remembering to do this and that thing, as well as decision fatigue and the exhaustion that comes at the end of the day when you've been having to make tiny decisions all day long. So automating, even if it's not tech automation, even if it's sort of like, okay, I am going to do my morning routine and it's always the same steps. Don't have to make decisions. Like it eases so much mental load. Um, but also, of course, my business is so much about automations because I love to build funnels and I love to put together the pieces of automation almost like one of those marble runs. Drop the marbles in and all the pieces connect and it goes really dirty and it gets to the end. And it's so satisfying. It just feels really, really good. So, yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. And I love that visual of the marble because I think for a lot of people, they see the inherent value in that, but then there there can be this overwhelm of, okay, so here's my starting point. And I know that's my starting point, but then, oh gosh, what do I do next? And that's one of the many amazing things that you do is you help them to say, okay, here's A, now here's B. And then we can follow along as you take us through that process. So thank you for mentioning that. Let's move into our next question, which is for someone who is just starting to explore automation in their business. Now, you could be a brand new entrepreneur, you could be a seasoned entrepreneur, and maybe you've been, duct taping things and pulleys and the whole thing, and you're thinking there's got to be a better way. So, if you're someone who is just starting to explore automation, again, I want to go around to each one of you. What's the first step that someone can take so that they can identify those inefficiencies in their business and then that which paves the way for them to start to design a system that would simplify their workflow and then boost their overall success at the same time? Laura, why don't we kick things off with you this time?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me first. My brain's going all over the place. Yeah, I think that the biggest thing, especially for somebody who's starting out new, is to write down, like really track what you're working on a daily basis. Even things, little things that come up. I think there's an inherent value in tracking where you're spending your time.
Mm.
And when you can track where you're spending your time and you start to look, where things start to repeat after a while. One of the things that you taught me, one of the things that I've learned from you, and one of the things that I've learned very early on in my career, my current business, was to look at it, to time blocking, right? What are some of the things that we can chunkify and do in a block of time so that we're not bouncing all over the place, right? Your calendar can be your best friend when it comes to automating your day, right? Doing the things like Carolyn was saying, what's your morning routine? That should be on your calendar. What's your evening routine? Your midday might be all over the place, but if you can at least have those bookends in place that, this is how I start my day, this is how I end my day, that's going to help you tremendously. But I think the biggest thing is tracking what you're working on, where you're spending your time, and really keeping an eye on how much time you're spending on certain tasks, and is there a way to chunkify them to maybe shorten that time frame.
Mm. I love that. And I love what you said about having the affirming way to start your day and the affirming way to end your day. And how you call them bookends. And I love that. And they serve as anchors for us. They help to ground us. And then we can say, okay, now for the filling, we've got our bread slices. And now for the filling, how do we customize that? So thank you, Laura. Carolyn, let's bring you back into the conversation. What would you say is the first step that somebody could look at when they're saying, I want to automate my business? What would be a great tip you could give them?
It makes me think of a client that I had a while back who had a service that was somewhat unusual. It required some explanation, and he was getting leads in and setting up one-on-one phone calls with them and going through his whole spiel, explaining his product. And I said, what if we could cut out that part where you're saying the same thing over and over again? So it's like what Laura said earlier. What are those things that you're doing the same every time? So do you really need to be doing it every time? I suggested to him that he make a webinar where he goes through and explains it in the most ideal, perfect way, and then send his leads to the webinar. If they're still interested, then they get on a one-on-one call with him and they already understand what he's selling. So I think look for those places where you're doing the same thing again and again. You probably can find a way to not have to do it over and over and over.
Mm. I love that. So in a way, you're kind of cloning yourself. I love that. That's a great idea, Carolyn. Thank you for sharing that. Regina,
Oh,
let's
Can I
hear.
just throw something in
Oh,
here?
yes, please, Laura.
You mentioned I love the word that you just used was cloning. One
Mm.
of the things that Carolyn and I have kind of uncovered with it's super valuable. And I've been doing this for years by creating templates for a lot of the work that I do, right? So you have templates of things that you do on repeat, but cloning like is huge when it comes to the back end of your website per se, like when back end of your funnel. If you like I'm creating another book, like I have another book launch coming out. All I did was clone my last book launch, edited the copy, changed some images out, and it was that much faster. So cloning is a big piece. So templates and create and being able to put things on repeat. So figure out what you can create a template from.
which also makes me think of like Canva templates for social
Mm.
media and stuff.
So you're duplicating the framework and then you're customizing it based upon whatever situation or project you're working on in that moment. That's brilliant. Regina, you always have a wealth of ideas to share. Um, what advice would you give to someone who's just starting to explore automation, and what first step would you offer to them to take?
The first step is notice where you keep repeating steps and
Mhm.
tasks. So I'll give you a for instance. I have a client who is she's full up with clients. She's on a wait list. So when people contact her through her website, it says on their wait list. That contact comes to me. Now, originally, I would just write people and say, hi, you were on the wait list, just confirming that, we'll let you know when a spot opens up. Then I was like, constantly repeating this email. So I created a template. And so now when it comes in, I pick the template, I change the name, and I send it off. It's still warm and it's still nice. But now I'm like, okay, so I am still repeating the same process. It comes in. So now I'm currently in the middle of setting her up. When the contact comes in, an automated email goes out with the information, and the contact information is sent to a Google Sheet and automatically fills in everything. So now I have exited that. And I test the system, because you've got to, if it doesn't work, if those automations don't work, so you got to, check the system. But so now, the idea is for that to go to Google Sheets, the automated email goes out, and I am out of the loop, but it's still getting the task done. So that's where you kind of have to see where you're repeating these steps and what tools and platforms can help you. The website that she uses, which is Squarespace, helps her do that. So your platforms have to work with what you need, and so do have to kind of all chunk
Yeah,
into.
this is why I'm a fan of the all-in-one platforms, because it can communicate. So you can have your website and your email and your forms and your everything that you're doing all actually seamlessly communicating with each other, instead of needing to connect it with like third-party stuff. So more and more of these website builders are going that direction, and I like it. I think it's good.
I love all of the feedback that each one of you has so expertly provided. I know when I work with my own clients, one of the things that we look at is, where are those bottlenecks? Where do things feel stuck? Where does the energy feel stuck in your business, but also within yourself? Where do things feel like if you're pretend that you're in a car, you're driving down Main Street of some city, and it's just one traffic light after another. So where do you feel like, oh, just one green light after another, and it's smooth sailing and you're just cruising along. But also, where do you feel like it's just one red light after another after another? It's just stop and start, stop and start. And that dings your energy and it dings your willpower. And so that's one of the things that I look at when I work with my clients is, where do things feel like there's a bottleneck? And let's just go granular and dissect it. And then how do we course correct and give you those green lights that you need? Let's bring it home. We've talked about the benefits of automation. We've talked about how to really identify where to start with automating in your business. Let's bring it home and offer our amazing listeners some ideas for what are some of the easiest tasks that you can automate within your business, and how, when we do that automation, how can doing that free up more time for that valuable creative and or strategic work that your business requires. So Carolyn, can we kick things off with you this time?
I always think the very first place is delivering your lead magnet. When you've asked somebody to sign up for receiving emails from you and you're going to send them something, do not trust yourself to manually remember to send it every single time. I don't think there's a single email platform that can't just send a welcome email. Like, some of them can't do anything after that, but they will send at least one email to deliver the lead magnet that somebody asked for. So that is the absolute first thing that I would recommend doing.
Oh, brilliant. I love that. And email is something that we all use every single day. So that's such a big part of what we do on a daily basis. So I thank you for that. Regina, what about you? What are some of the easiest tasks that you could suggest to our listeners that they could automate in their business?
Well, I'm going to go in my wheelhouse and say social media. So you can automate your posts and schedules, reels, anything you want to, TikToks, anything you want to automate. And then the second, you can automate when people contact you for information, you're sending that information to them. So those two are fantastic. One, you're not posting manually in person to social media, and the second one is you're not behind on answering people who are looking for more information.
And I bet people don't even realize that, like, if they see somebody saying comment yellow to get the coupon, that can be an automated program that then sends them the DM with the code.
Instantly, faster than you ever could. And that person is right there in the moment. If they get in the information right away, they're going to click on it, apply the coupon, and move on their day, get their product, and you've just got somebody a new.
Yeah, talk about getting rid of a bottleneck there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Regina. Laura, how about from your perspective, what are some of the easiest tasks that you can think of that somebody can automate within their business?
So for me, a lot of times, a lot of it is really about connecting with people. So the most important thing, and I teach all of my clients this, is to turn your follow-up email into a template, because follow-up, like they say, fortune's in the follow-up, right? So you want to make sure that you are following up after a conversation, after somebody reaches out to you via email. You want to make sure that you're responding. So have those auto responders in place, have that follow-up template in place. Let people know, that you appreciate them reaching out to you or having a conversation with you. Just this morning, I sent out a follow-up email that I have a template for a podcast interview that I was on. So that you can have a series of different follow-up emails set up so that you can just, like Regina said, just go grab it, pop it into an email, send it off, you're done, right? And then you can move on with your day. So make sure that you are showing appreciation for people wanting to connect with you. And again, that starts to build that know, like, and trust factor, and increases your network and your net worth.
Way to show them the love, Laura. I love that. Ladies, I want to say thank you for yet another amazing episode where we share our expertise and great ideas, and we share our love with our amazing listeners, and in the hopes that they will walk away with really quantifiable ideas and tips and things that they can then take with them to make their lives easier, streamlined, and more automated. So thank you all for listening. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button. Recommend our podcast to those whom you know who would love to be a part of our community and to learn and grow as well. Remember to keep creating, to keep connecting, and never stop converting your dreams into reality. And we will see you on our next episode. Bye, everyone.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of CreateConnectConvert.co. We hope you're feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to make your next bold move. Remember, the journey doesn't end here. Head over to CreateConnectConvert.co to download our latest resources, sign up for our upcoming events, or hop on the wait list for our exclusive mastermind community. There's a seat at the table waiting just for you. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to click like and subscribe. We'll see you back here next week to dive into another game-changing conversation. And here's a little something to carry you until then. Keep creating, keep connecting, and never stop converting your dreams into reality.